Well. How's it going out there today, boys and girls in sporting land? This is another episode of JPC Sports, the home of the Common Joe and the Common Sally in the know. Even more so. Can you tell me what it is, class? Even more so than? Even more so than those media talking heads. Now, today, class, we're going to talk about those Georgia Bulldogs and what they need to hate more than anything and what they need to concentrate on to get over that hump, to get that national championship that all their counterparts have. I mean, just look at it. It just dawned on me today. Look at all the teams around Georgia that have a national championship. You got Clemson. 3 times they've won the national championship since Georgia last won one with Herschel Walker and Vince Dilley. They won one right after they won it in 1981. And since then, won 2 more. Then, that's right, those Auburn Tigers have won a national championship since Georgia last won one. And then, Tennessee, 1998, they've won a national championship. Even Georgia Tech. That's right. I think it was 1991 or 1990 or 1991? Yeah. Georgia Tech won a national championship. And their most hated rival, those Florida Gators, have won the national championship 3 times since Georgia last donned that crown back in 1980. When Fonzie was tapping jukeboxes of all things. Oh, Henry Winkler. Those were happy days for the Georgia Bulldogs. But we're going to try to get them some more happy days. And we're going to help them, class, and we're going to give them some good advice today. But before we do that, I'd like to ask you guys and gals once again, as always, to like, share, comment, and most importantly, what do we always say? Subscribe to this channel. Subscriptions keep me up and going and keep me on the air. And they quite frankly show me you care. But yeah, now let's get right to it. I mentioned all those teams that's surrounding Georgia. I'm not going to mention every single team that's won a national championship since Georgia, even though LSU has as well. But their problem, I think, with Georgia is they've been concentrating on the wrong teams. You know, they've got these huge rivalry games with Auburn and Florida, have for a long time, because Alabama and Georgia don't play each other as much. But that's the team that Georgia really needs to hate. That's where they need to focus their hate and focus their motivation is to beating Alabama and taking them out in every aspect. Because when you beat Alabama, good things usually follow. It usually opens up the floodgates for the bigger picture. Case in point, Clemson. They finally beat Alabama for the national championship. And then, of course, Alabama's most hated rival and one of Georgia's most hated rivals, Auburn. They beat Alabama and they won a national championship. Tennessee back in 1998 got over the Alabama hump and finally won a national championship. LSU, same thing. Whenever they beat Alabama, they usually win a national championship, except 2011. So as you can see, there's a history there of teams. When they beat that team in Tuscaloosa, it usually opens up the floodgates for the national championship. The coup de roi, the grand prize, the big throne that you get to sit on once you beat that team in Tuscaloosa. And that's what you guys need to concentrate on. Because Georgia should really hate Alabama for what they've cost them. Just look at, let's go back just a little bit. 2008. Georgia ranked number 3 in the nation, Alabama number 8. Georgia coming in with the blackout going on. Got their fans all fired up. Mark Richt and Georgia had beaten Alabama the year prior in Tuscaloosa in overtime. and won the SEC title a couple of times. Mark Richt has. So we're thinking, man, the next step, it's got to be national championship for Georgia. 2008 rolls around, and it's like, man, this is going to be it. Mark Richt's going to finally get his shot at the national championship. But right out the gate, the blackout, it was a blackout. That's because Alabama Power come to town and turned the lights out. It was 31-0 at halftime. Alabama went on to win 41-30. The score is not very indicative. Can't even speak today because I'm so fired up for these Georgia Bulldogs trying to help them out. The score doesn't really indicate how dominating Alabama was in that game. But let's fast forward to 2012. SEC title game. National championship appearance on the line. Alabama was sort of dominating that game, but they pulled ahead late, 32-28. But Georgia had one last gasp. I think they got the ball back with maybe a minute, maybe a little bit less than a minute. I can't remember the exact time, but there wasn't much time left. They drove the length of the field, got down to like the 10-yard line through a inexplicable, just like a little fly pattern out to the right, and the guy falls down in bounds, and they ain't got no timeouts, and the time runs out, and so Georgia loses the game and loses their shot at a possible national championship against Notre Dame, which ironically would have been against the team that they last won one against, because Georgia won their championship in 1980 against Notre Dame. Alabama went on to dominate Notre Dame and just smeared Notre Dame. I mean, it was a pretty much domination. So the Alabama-Georgia game was, everybody knew it was a de facto national championship game. Because if Georgia had beat Alabama in that game, they would have beat the hell out of Notre Dame. And we all know it. So, that's national championship that Alabama cost Georgia. Fast forward, 2015, Alabama plays Georgia in a regular season match. Once again, their hopes are high before the season starts. Alabama pretty much dominates them 38-10 in Athens. Alabama didn't even get a return game on that for some reason in Tuscaloosa. But Georgia goes on to not even win the division. Missouri ends up playing out, I think it was Alabama in the SEC title game. So, fast forward again. This time, Georgia beats Auburn in a rematch in the SEC title game. So, we're thinking, oh yeah, man, we're finally going to get over the hump. We get our revenge against Auburn after they beat them in the regular season, and now we're going to the playoffs. But the thing is, there's that team again, Alabama. Alabama didn't have to play in the SEC title game, so they sort of backed in. So, but you really can't say someone backs in if they actually win both games. I get people kill me saying, oh, Alabama backed in. You can't back in to win a national championship. You can say someone backed in if they get the hell beat out of them and knocked out of the first round or something, like Ohio State been known to do a time or two. But they end up playing Alabama in the national championship game. Georgia wins a heartbreaking game for the Sooners in the Rose Bowl. Georgia wins that game in a thriller. And Alabama gets over the Clemson hump quite profusely at 24-6. And so now you got it again. It's Alabama and Georgia. And Georgia dominates this game throughout the game. Alabama brings in a true freshman and Tua Tagovailoa. And he comes in and on 2nd and 26 in overtime beats Georgia for the national championship. So once again, there's that team ripping the heart out of the Georgia Bulldog and their Bulldog fan nation. So let's fast forward one more time. Here recently, 2018, SEC title game. Alabama, Georgia. Georgia dominating. What's Alabama do? They bring in another quarterback. This time they bring in the quarterback that got benched for doing bad against Georgia the year before. They bring in that guy, Jalen Hurts, and He brings them back, and they win the game. After being down by 2 scores, once again, Georgia has a 2-score lead, and Alabama comes back and wins the game and probably costs Georgia another shot at a national championship. So look at it. They've got to hate Alabama. They've got to. They've got to make Alabama their focal point of hate. Stop worrying about any emphasis on Florida and Georgia Tech or even Auburn or even Tennessee. And focus on Alabama, beating them in every aspect, whether it be recruiting, whether it be water polo, anything. You've got to beat Alabama. Because, hell, they're even penning new nicknames for you guys. I've heard them calling you the hedge pissers and the muttball lickers. I must admit, those are nicknames I come up with for them. But I shouldn't even be giving them this advice, right? But I am, because I am a lover of college football and all of its traditions. But you guys and gals, give me your thoughts and your comments and tell me what you think Georgia can do to finally get over the hump and get to the national championship table with all their counterparts that surround them. And before I get off here, I'd like to say once again, like, share, comment, and most importantly, what's that? Subscribe to this channel. And as always, KMCA to all your teams.